Today we compare and contrast the main tracked armoured fighting vehicles used by the United States and much of Northern Europe, the former being the Bradley and the latter being the CV90. Fun fact, these days both are made/offered by the same company, BAE Systems. This video won't go too in-depth with each platform's rich developmental history and will instead focus on the technical specifications of the latest variants, while briefly looking at levels of adoption. So let's get started. Even though we won't be going deep into each platform's history, we should at least discuss each vehicle's origins and how these compare. Although the US was studying the IFV concept as early as the 1960s, more serious and focused development of a mechanized infantry combat vehicle in the United States began in the 1970s, and this would eventually lead to the M2 and M3 Bradley fighting vehicles, with production and delivery beginning in 1981. Production was first carried out by the company FMC, which later became United Defense in 1994 after a merger with Harsco Corporation. United Defense was then acquired by BAE Systems in 2005. The M2 variant of the Bradley, which is what we're focusing on today, is the infantry fighting vehicle, while the M3 is labelled a cavalry fighting vehicle, a platform used for fire support and reconnaissance. The former carries more dismounts, while the latter trades 4 to 5 dismounts for scout observers and more ammunition and equipment, but we'll get into specifics later in the video. The CV90 was developed in Sweden by the company HB Utveckling, a shared company owned by Swedish companies Hägglunds and Bofors. Hägglunds was responsible for the chassis, while Bofors was responsible for the turret. Initial planning for this vehicle also took place in the 1970s, and a development contract would be signed in the mid-1980s. At this point in the video, it's worth highlighting that the CV90 wasn't really intended as a product for export at the outset of development. Like the United States and the Bradley, it was simply Sweden wanting an IFV for its own forces. However, Sweden's neighbours clearly liked the concept and adopted the platform as well, a major bonus for the nation's defence industry. With that out of the way, the website Tank Encyclopedia says that one area of focus were the platform's tracks and road wheels. And so after evaluations ended, the M2 Bradley's tracks and road wheels were the winners, and thus selected for the CV90 program. Design has changed since then, and the two platforms no longer share the same components, although one other fun and interesting fact is that one of the CV90 prototypes used a 25mm Bushmaster chain gun, the main armament ultimately selected for the Bradley fighting vehicle. The CV90 would enter serial production in 1993, with the main IFV variant for Sweden using a Bofors autocannon. This puts the CV90 about 12 years behind the Bradley. The first export order came in 1994 from Norway for the CV90-30, which used a 30mm turret developed by Hägglunds. The vehicle actually beat out the M2 Bradley and a few others to be Norway's pick. In terms of program ownership, British manufacturer Alvis would go on to acquire the military vehicles division of Swedish engineering company Hägglund & Söner in October 1997, and this would be followed by BAE Systems acquiring Alvis in 2004. On the Bofors side of things, the company would be part of the Celsius Group in the early 1990s, which would later be purchased by Saab in 1999. Ownership by Saab would be short-lived because it was in September 2000 that Bradley maker United Defense Industries of the United States acquired Bofors weapon systems, while Saab retained the missile interests. Then, as you already know from the Bradley history portion of this video, United Defense would be acquired by BAE Systems in 2005. So, as you can see, the American Bradley and Swedish CV90 are distant cousins within the BAE Systems family, but only due to a series of mergers and acquisitions throughout the 1990s and early 2000s. When it comes to technical specifications, it's potentially quite messy given various generations of Bradley and CV90 IFVs, as well as numerous CV90 variants across different countries. However, let's just pick new variants from each family to do a rough comparison of basic numbers. although CV90 figures are a bit more scattered and not all in one place like the M4 datasheet. On the Bradley side, we'll go with the latest variant, the M2A4E1, and for CV90, the latest generation Mark IV. For combat weight, the Bradley M2A4 is about 36.3 tons, while the CV90 Mark IV isn't too far off, with a gross weight of 37 tons. Some other official BAE Systems material states that the platform supports a weight of up to 38 tons. The Bradley's empty or curb weight is said to be between 22 and 23 tons, although such numbers are likely to only apply to the earliest Bradley variants, as additional armor has only made these machines heavier over the past decade. ArmyRecognition.com says that M2A2 increased from 25 to 33 tons. It was just as difficult to find anything concrete for the CV90 Mark IV. We did, however, find a 2011 BAE Systems brochure for the CV90 Mark III, saying that curb weight had increased from 23 to 35 tons. The Bradley's engine provides up to 675 horsepower, while it's as much as 1,000 horsepower for the CV90. Fuel capacity is 587 litres for Bradley, while the only figure we could find for the CV90 was 940 litres for Denmark's older IFVs, a piece of information coming from the website armyvehicles.dk. Overall length of the Bradley M2A4 is 6.5 metres, while it's stated that the CV90 Mark IV's length varies depending on turret and main armament chosen by the customer. However, the length is said to be between 6.47 and 6.8 metres. Bradley width is 3.2 metres, while Army Recognition says that width for the CV90 Mark IV is almost the same at 3.19 metres. Height is a major differentiator, however, as the Bradley measures 3.3 metres while it's 2.5 metres for the CV90 Mark IV. Some of this difference is the increased amount of headroom available for the Bradley's passengers. The lower height of the CV90 is very much intentional, as is explained in its Mark IV promotional video. It said that the IFV has the lowest visible signature of all modern IFVs, and thus makes it a smaller target. We spoke with a military veteran who had worked with both in Afghanistan. He told us that when it comes to detectability, the Bradley stands out with a higher heat signature for those using thermal/infrared sensors. We're also told that it's an overall louder vehicle. On the other hand, the CV90 has a lower signature due to its design and is also generally quieter. On this topic, some CV90 fans point out that the IFV has this adaptive outer layer to adjust temperature and thus thermal signature. However, it seems like this is an add-on option and not standard, and to our knowledge, it's not in widespread use with any military and remains a developmental technology. We know that Saab Barracuda has made its MCS, or Mobile Camouflage System, which we've seen on CV90s, something that reduces a vehicle's heat signature. However, it's not a standard part of the machine, and the same tech and material could theoretically be ordered for the Bradley too. But overall, when also considering the Bradley's higher profile, it just stands out a lot more than the CV90 on the battlefield. This issue of detectability is probably not something US forces care too much about, given their doctrine of overmatch, combined with a typically high level of air support in a conflict. In terms of armor, the website natodays.cz says that the CV90 can exceed STANAG 4569 Level 6 protection with optional add-on armor, and has mine and IED protection exceeding level 4A/4B standards. As for the Bradley, one comment on Reddit explains that the IFV is not qualified according to any STANAG 4569 level, since it predates this rating system. While a random comment on Reddit is far from an authoritative source, it might explain why it's been so difficult to find an actual STANAG rating. Some sources note that the IFV's frontal arc has protection roughly equivalent to level 5, while the sides and rear are closer to level 4. When it comes to manning and capacity, a few sources we found says that the M2 consists of a 3-man crew, commander, gunner and driver, plus up to 6 fully equipped infantry soldiers, while the cavalry/scout variant M3 only has a 3-man crew and 2 scout observers, with the remainder of the space used to store additional ammunition, missiles, and specialized equipment. This US Army video admittedly has us a little confused, as this staff sergeant's numbers are a little different.
The difference as well is the fact that the M3 Bradley is only going to house 4 individuals in that vehicle as it moves around the battlefield, and the M2 Bradley is meant to move infantry dismounted troops as well, so it will fit an entire squad in the back, making it so that there is 7 dismounts and the 3 crew members as well, so 10 total people can move around in this vehicle as well.
In all fairness, BAE Systems' Bradley A4 datasheet says that personnel capacity is up to 10. And so, to anyone watching who has worked with the M2 or M3 Bradley, comment and let us know what your experience has been in terms of typical manning for each vehicle. Army Recognition states that the CV90 Mark IV typically operates with a 3-person crew and can carry up to 8 dismounts. Now, when it comes to armament, the Bradley M2A4 features a Bushmaster 25mm cannon firing both explosive and armor-piercing rounds, while tow missiles fired from a dual launcher system defeat enemy armor. The platform's secondary weapon is a 7.62mm coaxial machine gun that provides high-volume fires at close ranges. As highlighted by the Warzone, the M2A4E1 version most notably features the Israeli Iron Fist Light, a hard-kill active protection system designed to physically destroy or at least disrupt incoming anti-tank guided missiles and rocket-propelled grenades. This system could potentially also help to defend against attack drones. Iron Fist Light consists of 2 countermeasures launchers and 4 sensor arrays positioned around the vehicle's turret. The sensors are electronically scanned array or AESA radars paired with infrared cameras. The CV90's main armament will again vary depending on the customer. So far we've seen a 35mm Bushmaster 3 automatic cannon for the Slovak variant and a 30mm Bushmaster 2 autocannon for the Czech IFV. As seems to be common across many IFVs, including the CV90 family, a 7.62mm machine gun is the secondary weapon. Other weaponry will also depend on the customer, but the Iron Fist active protection system also features on the Slovak and Czech CV90 Mark IVs. Both of these new CV90s also have the Spike LR2 anti-tank guided missile system, the rough equivalent to the tow system on the Bradleys. Based on all this information, it seems like there's a fair bit of commonality between the Bradley and CV90 in their IFV roles. However, while the Bradley has long been committed to the 25mm cannon, the majority of CV90 customers have adopted 30 and 35mm calibers, while Sweden has gone with 40mm. The Nordic nation will eventually join the others as it has ordered CV90s with a 35mm cannon. Comparing global usage, the United States obviously is the largest operator of the Bradley, with at least 3,000 to 4,000 of these vehicles, if we include both the M2 and M3. ArmyGuide.com states over 6,700 for the United States and another 400 used by Saudi Arabia. Hundreds of used Bradleys have gone to Ukraine, while dozens have also gone to Croatia and Lebanon. The US had also offered 200 of these IFVs to Greece, but Athens declined due to the steep costs of refurbishing the older machines. For the CV90, about 9 nations have purchased this vehicle, including Denmark, Estonia, Finland, Norway, Sweden, the Netherlands, Switzerland, Czechia, and Slovakia. Ukraine is also an operator thanks to donations from Sweden. Sweden is the type's largest customer with over 500 vehicles ordered. Hundreds more have collectively been purchased by other nations, although this notably includes other variants and not just IFVs. We do have to conclude this video by noting that the Bradley is on its way out and will eventually be replaced by the Lynx XM30 mechanized infantry combat vehicle. Indeed, this is what a US Congress webpage has to say about the change. Updated numerous times since its introduction, the M2 Bradley is widely considered to have reached the technological limits of its capacity to accommodate new electronics, armor, and defensive systems. 2 past efforts to replace the M2 Bradley, the Future Combat System or FCS program, and the Ground Combat Vehicle or GCV program, were cancelled for programmatic and cost-associated reasons. American Rheinmetall, Textron Systems, RTX, L3 Harris Technologies, Allison Transmission, and Anduril Industries are all involved with the development of this upcoming platform. With this replacement still in development, there are few solid details about the XM30's specifications, metrics that would most likely change over time anyway. As for a CV90 Mark V to supersede the relatively new Mark IV, there is zero official information on such an endeavour, with only a few questionable sources speculating on this next generation. And while it wouldn't be a surprise to us if BAE Systems' R&D team were quietly researching and dreaming up the next CV90 iteration, it's not something we're likely to see until at least the late 2030s or even later. So there you have it, our humble attempt at a Bradley CV90 side-by-side comparison. What do you think of these two armoured platforms? Let us know by leaving a comment.